Hey, if you could quickly for the audience, just I know you were a lieutenant in the Oklahoma City Police Department, right? You'd served 20 plus years there, and just you take it from there. Let everybody know what your background is, and we're going to talk a little bit about EquiSearch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am actually a product of the California public school system. I grew up in the city itself of San Francisco. For my elementary, middle school, went out to a suburb there in the Bay Area, finished school, and my parents had divorced before my senior year. And so my mom had family in Oklahoma. She moved out to Oklahoma. My father moved down to Southern California. And I wanted to finish high school. So I moved out when I was 17, ended up staying with a buddy of mine and his family there in the Bay Area to finish high school. Both of my parents were career military people. So they were kind of the mindset, man, you're 18. We've done our job. You're through high school. Good luck. And so, I knew I wanted to be a police officer. And as an 18-year-old kid, I couldn't afford to be on my own in California. So came out here to Oklahoma, stayed with my mom for about a year and went to college here. Absolutely hated Tulsa, Oklahoma. Coming from the Bay Area as an 18-year-old kid, the longer I was here, the more I started to enjoy the city. I ended up doing my internship with the Tulsa Police Department, and then they hired me right out of college. And so from January 97 up until my retirement early last summer, I was a Tulsa police officer. So about 24 and a half years or so. And kind of on the police department, much like you guys, I've done a little bit of everything. I've done patrol. I did what's called our major crimes homicide unit, narcotics. But my big passion was gangs. And I think that's part of my upbringing in the late 80s, early 90s there in the Bay Area, kind of as the gang lifestyle as we know it now. And, the epidemic of crack cocaine, the way it exploded, as a teenager, I was around that stuff out there. And so it's always had an interest in me. Got into the gang unit here as a supervisor and stayed there for about 14 years up until my retirement. So Live PD is just a pure fluke deal. Never had any desire to be on television or be in media or anything like that. It was just a matter of right place, right time. Opportunity came up, ended up on the show as one of the officers that were covered. And they had actually never had an officer as a guest in studio. Invited me up there and things went well, and kind of, as cliche as it sounds, the rest is history. The show turned into this major hit, ended up having a spinoff show, as you just showed there, PD Cam, another show I hosted where we got to show body cam, dash cam footage of the great work that our men and women across the country do in law enforcement. And here I am talking with you now.
Yeah, and we also have Cocktails and Cocktails. I was a guest on that show for the 9/11 special.
Yes, sir.
You guys are doing great stuff with the Law and Crime Network. I wanted you, if quickly, and all this stuff is great. We're going to put it down in the description, and we're going to promote this. But I wanted you, one of the prime reasons why I had you come on is I wanted you to talk about in your law enforcement career and your history, how important was it to have these professional search groups, and what did they provide to some of the smaller departments? We had 40,000 in the NYPD. Talk about some of that experience that you see there in the Midwest with the smaller departments that need these resources.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make a little joke. I know it's a very serious subject here, but a lot of people, when being a part of Live PD, they hear Tulsa, Oklahoma, and everybody kind of jokes, do we have running water? Do we have the internet? That type of stuff here. Tulsa is actually a pretty good sized city. And not that this is anything to be proud of. We are one of these cities that kind of rank really high as far as like violent crime for a city with a population of 500,000. And our department's, 800 plus officers. So we're good size. We have a lot of resources here. But just as you mentioned, you get literally 10, 15 minutes outside of Tulsa and it's country. And I'm talking like people riding horses country. And it's a lot of underfunded departments that just don't have many resources. And we just did a podcast this past week that'll come out, here in another month or so with the sheriff of a neighboring county. And he is a rural county that he has a lot of support and money there. But you county outside of his, these are departments, as an example, that when we on our Tulsa Police Department, our ballistic vests, expire after 5 years and we get new ones, we're literally handing these to these other agencies so that their officers have ballistic vests because they can't afford them on their own. So to kind of go into just what you're talking about, the search things, the missing persons cases that happen, directly here in Tulsa or Tulsa County, it's the Bible Belt here. So we have a lot of private groups. Our department is still heavily supported by the public, despite what's gone on in the country the last few years. And we are very fortunate when these type of things happen. We have a lot of volunteers that step up. Our department can provide people as well. But again, these neighboring agencies that are just very, very small and don't have the resources, these private groups like this, any volunteers that are out there, it is crucial to help out finding missing people, whether they're kids or, the elder, silver alerts, anything like that. It is a must needed deal.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the important part, is that some people don't understand that. They figure, well, the police department, they're going to be able to handle it. But like you said, when you get outside of those major, cities, you see it's a sheriff and maybe a deputy or two.
Well, and sorry to cut you off there. The sheriff that we had on, his name was God. Why did I just blank on it? Sheriff Walton. He was actually a Tulsa police officer, retired, and then went over there. Scott Walton's his name. But he was telling me that his agency covers, I think he said, like 746 square miles. And at night they have 4 deputies on duty. 746 square miles with 4 deputies, and that's it. Now there's highway patrol that covers, some out in that area.
Right.
And just looking at it from those of us in law enforcement, or, you're talking about, man, you're going to a hot call. How far away is my backup? But the things like a missing person, a child that wanders off, an elderly person that's, gone to the store and never made their way back, or heaven forbid, a kidnapping case. Yeah. I mean, you have so much space to cover, with 4 guys on duty. So the volunteers, it is such a much needed deal.